Hey guys, I'm McGann, and welcome back to another chapter of There I Read It, where I'm going over the Harry Potter books for the first time ever in my life. And today we are on chapter 18 called Moody, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs, where things are finally getting super interesting. Now in the last chapter, Lupin had just come into the Shrieking Shack and said that Peter Pettigrew is actually Scabbers. Or I guess that works better the other way around, that Scabbers is actually Peter Pettigrew. But there was a lot of really good exposition that I don't remember at all from when the movies first came out. So my brain was just lapping all this up like, oh, the connections, they're great. But Sirius Black tries to kill Scabbers and get him away from Ron, and Lupin's like, no, you owe them an explanation first. Don't kill him like this. You have to tell them the whole story. And poor sweet Ron is trying to desperately hold on to Scabbers, even though his hand is bitten, scratched, and bleeding at this point because Scabbers wants out of there. But rats can actually eat through living human flesh, so I'm surprised Scabbers has not managed to get away from Ron at this point. Especially with his broken leg, you would think Ron would be like, fine, I don't care anymore. Kind of like Harry with Crookshanks in the last chapter, where he was like, well, if he wants to die, I guess I'll oblige him. But Lupin and Black keep going on about how Peter Pettigrew is this rat, and all the kids think that they're nuts. But Hermione even chimes in and says, that can't be true, Professor, because the Ministry tracks all the animagi wizards that there are, and there's only been 7 in this past century, and Pettigrew is not on the list. And that is actually neat. I was wondering about that. I guess that means my thoughts on Transfiguration have been completely wrong. I always assumed that they were building up to learn how to turn themselves into animals in that class, but I guess that has nothing to do with it, and McGonagall being able to transconfigurate herself into an animal is just a completely unrelated skill set. But the Ministry, finally showing some good use of logic, actually keeps track of who can turn into animals, what animals they turn into, and what those animals look like, right down to the markings. And after hearing this, Lupin's like, oh yes, you are correct, Miss Granger. However, there were 3 unregistered animagi. I can never say, I feel like I don't know this word very well. Animagi? That feels like that should be right. But Lupin says that there were 3 animagi that were unregistered that the Ministry knew nothing about, and they were right there at Hogwarts. So then we start the backstory of Professor Lupus, and he says he was bitten by a werewolf as a small child, which is a horribly inconveniently convenient thing to happen with a name like Lupin, but apparently it's not a family curse like I was speculating on before. It's just bad luck on his part, and Snape does give him a potion now, but the potion is a recent thing, and all the potion really does is make it to where Lupin keeps his human mind when he transforms into a werewolf. If he doesn't have that potion, he's just a full-on werewolf willing to bite people and destroy everything, and it's not good. It was so not good, in fact, that basically no magical school ever wanted to touch Lupin until Dumbledore became the headmaster of Hogwarts, and then he was like, come on, we'll just take some precautions and you can come here. So Dumbledore set up the Shrieking Shack in Hogsmeade and connected it with a tunnel that led onto the Hogwarts grounds, but obviously that might be too easy for other kids to find, so that's why they planted the Whomping Willow there to hide it. And Lupin's best friends, Peter Pettigrew, Sirius Black, and James Potter, figured out the truth after, a while of Lupin trying to make excuses like, well, my mom's sick, so I have to go here and do that. And so to have camaraderie with their close friend, those 3 boys learned how to be animagi, I can't do this word, so that Lupin didn't have to be alone as an animal when he transformed. And the boys figured out how to do this by their 5th year. It took them 3 years of trying, and turning into an animagus is a very hard thing to do, and it can go terribly wrong, which is apparently one of the reasons why the Ministry tracks that, other than, obvious reasons of a criminal could escape. And it turns out that, at least in this universe, werewolves are only dangerous to humans And so with the other boys turning into animals, they were all fine together. And after a while, they started to expand their adventure and not just stay inside of the Shrieking Shack, but to go out and check out Hogsmeade and Hogswart when nobody else was around. So for all of these years that the people of Hogsmeade have thought that the Shrieking Shack is haunted, it was actually just going back to a time where Lupin was there out of control and tearing the place up once a month. So they just used ghosts to hide the fact that Lupin was a werewolf, which clever. But because of all of the boys' wanderings and their experiences, it gave them the insight to be able to make the Marauders map. And so Moody was Lupin, Padfoot was Sirius Black, Wormtail was Peter Pettigrew, and Prongs was James Potter. Which, man, I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm really curious to go back and see what Prongs said to Snape when he was snooping. Because it turns out that that near-death, life-saving thing that happened between Snape and James Potter was because of all the animagus stuff. Because that was a secret. Nobody knew about it. Snape was really suspicious. He was really a super snooper, and that aggravated the boys, that he was always just right down their necks trying to get them expelled. And of course, Snape also didn't know that Lupin was a werewolf, and finding that out could really do damage and get Lupin kicked out of the school. So what happened with that whole near-death situation was that Snape was sent to the Whomping Willow by Sirius Black because Black thought it would be so funny if Snape got through that tunnel and then end up in the Shrieking Shack with Lupin as a full-on mindless werewolf because, you know, Snape would have been shredded. And Black even told Snape how to hit the notch, get a big long stick and hit that notch and then you can get past the willow. But James Potter found out and he went and saved Snape before the real trouble, fell down on them. But unfortunately, Snape did get as far as the tunnel and he saw Lupin as a werewolf. So he has just been writhing with hatred for this whole group of boys ever since. And I think that's especially true because he was right to be suspicious. He didn't find out about the other boys turning into animals, but he did figure it out with Lupin. But Dumbledore swore him to secrecy, so he couldn't spill the beans, and I'm sure that has just been eating at him for decades. Because this little whiny Slytherin dude can't let anything go. But Lupin does say that he thought about telling Dumbledore over and over again that, I know something you don't, that Sirius Black can turn into a big black dog. But he felt so ashamed that he kept sneaking out of the shack with the other boys that he didn't want to let Dumbledore know that he's betrayed his trust. So it's kind of a, weak excuse, but I guess it has some logic there. But Lupin's got to be in his 40s or 50s at this point, so it would be like going to your parents and saying, hey, when I was 16, I did this stupid thing. I mean, yeah, it could be awkward. They might not like what you have to say, but it doesn't really matter anymore, does it? And especially after Lupin got all over Harry's case about the Marauders map and not reporting it with all of the situation going on, you would think that Lupin himself would have the courage to stand up and say, I'm going to do the right thing, even if it's uncomfortable for me. But he doesn't, because plot convenience, I guess. Now, what happened to the map from Lupin's perspective and how Filch got it, that's still a mystery, but I'm gonna assume that's not gonna be a mystery we have answered. It's just not a big, important enough question to deal with in the book, I think at least. But now all of these pieces are coming together. We have these 3 wizards who are illegally turning into animagi, and so they're not registered. It makes sense as to how Peter Pettigrew could have hid for all these years, and how Black has been sneaking around, and why nobody thought to check the animals, because it's apparently not a skill that is common like I thought it was. But I'm also assuming by default that Crookshanks is just Sirius Black's cat, and he is not going to turn into anybody cool at this point. Then in the very last moments of the book, there had previously been a door that kicked in, and Lupin's looking around like nobody's here. And that's when the kids are like, well, this place is haunted, and Lupin took the opportunity to say, it's not haunted, it was me the whole time. So then at the very end of the chapter, Snape rips off Harry's invisibility cloak and he's like, never fear, Snape is here! Which means there is more trouble to come. I love that this chapter was shorter, and I love that there was a ton of exposition coming our way, because I don't know, there is so much going on in this book, especially when they're trying to cover an entire school year with extracurricular activities, that there ends up not being a ton of time for the actual story to come out and blossom and creep in slowly. Like, we've had parts appear slowly, like, well, your dad saved Snape's life, and Snape going, well, he only saved my life because he almost got me killed. Seems like a really backwards way to look at that, because it was Sirius Black who almost got him killed and James Potter who legit saved him, but whatevs. Haters gonna hate. But I'm feeling really, like, pumped up and enthused to finish the next handful of chapters and be done with this book. I don't know what it is exactly, but this book feels like it was ticking upwards on a roller coaster, and now we have finally started tipping over the arc, and now everything's just gonna whoosh right down the plummet. What do you call I don't know what you call roller coaster parts. I'm not gonna pretend I do, and I'm not gonna look it up because I drone on too much already. So this seems like a great place to wrap things up for today. As always, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment. I love to read your comments and respond to them. And again, I'm sorry if you are telling me something 30 times and I'm still talking about it in these videos, because I record these videos way in advance, so it's not like I release chapter 1 and then I get the feedback before I start chapter 2. No, I'm like way out of that league by the time I see the comments. That's just the way I do it, because it's the most convenient for me, because I definitely don't want to hit a burnout moment and then go weeks and weeks and weeks without posting a chapter, so I try to get the whole book done before I start posting. So sometimes it works out that way, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends. And sharing is caring, because the algorithm hates me. And yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you so much. And we will see you next time, family members. Bye. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that? Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos, like you, helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.